My wife doesn't drive anymore, and I didn't want her stuck and not knowing what was going on. It just seemed like the right thing to do, and I think it was.
The Lenoses are living a heartbreak beyond words. For more than 30 years, Jay Leno made people laugh on TV with his jokes and celebrity interviews on The Tonight Show. His voice and laugh became a regular part of many homes. But now, something more serious has caught people's attention. What happened that made this famous TV star leave the spotlight? How did a man who appeared to have endless energy and passion for his work suddenly announce his departure from public life? Join us as we look behind the curtain to uncover the truth about Jay Leno. The early signs everyone missed. Jay Leno met Mavis Nicholson in 1976 when she went to see his comedy show in Los Angeles. They clicked right away. Mavis said she never thought about getting married until she met Jay, because he was so kind and smart. They got married in 1980 and stayed strong together for over 40 years. Even with the challenges of fame and Hollywood life. As Jay became a big star on TV, Mavis stayed out of the spotlight and focused on helping others and supporting women's rights. Behind their seemingly perfect relationship, however, subtle changes in Mavis's health began appearing as early as 2016. Close friends noticed her occasional disorientation during conversations and her increasing reluctance to attend public events with Jay. These moments were dismissed as simple fatigue or the natural effects of aging as Mavis entered her 70s. Jay himself later admitted that he had noticed his wife occasionally struggling to remember names of longtime friends or getting confused about appointment times, but attributed these lapses to the normal stress of their busy lives. Jay and Mavis didn't know that small changes in Mavis's behavior were actually early signs of a serious brain condition that would later affect their lives in a big way. At the time, Mavis kept working with women's rights groups, but people around her noticed she often looked very tired or forgot what she was saying during meetings. Looking back, these signs should have been taken more seriously. By late 2018, the frequency of these episodes had increased enough that even Jay, with his demanding schedule and frequent absences while filming various projects, could no longer ignore the changes in his wife's behavior. Yet as the couple privately began seeking medical advice about these concerning symptoms, Jay was about to face a serious health crisis of his own that would temporarily shift attention away from Mavis's condition. Jay's personal health battles. Jay Leno had always projected an image of remarkable vigor and resilience. His legendary work ethic during his Tonight Show years became a Hollywood staple. After taping his show, he would often drive to comedy clubs to perform stand-up, maintaining a punishing schedule that would have exhausted performers half his age. Even after leaving late-night television, Jay continued performing dozens of stand-up dates annually, while filming his various television projects, including Jay Leno's Garage, which combined his comedic talents with his lifelong passion for automobiles. This perpetual motion and apparent boundless energy made what happened in November 2022 all the more shocking. While working in his famous garage on one of his vintage cars, a gasoline fire erupted, engulfing the comedian in flames. The accident left Jay with serious third-degree burns on his face, chest, and hands, requiring immediate hospitalization at the Grossman Burn Center in Los Angeles. For the first time in his career, Jay was forced into complete inactivity as he underwent multiple surgeries and painful skin grafts. The severity of his injuries required a lengthy recovery period that gave him something he had rarely experienced: extended time at home with Mavis. While Jay was healing and needed Mavis's help every day, he started to notice that her thinking and memory had gotten much worse. Simple things like keeping track of his medicine or remembering doctor visits became hard for her. What used to be small memory slips turned into regular confusion that couldn't just be blamed on getting older. As Jay's physical recovery progressed, his concern for Mavis intensified. By the time he returned to limited public appearances in early 2023, Jay had already begun arranging for comprehensive neurological evaluations for his wife, setting in motion the medical investigations that would eventually deliver devastating news. But even as the Lenos sought answers about Mavis's condition, Jay found himself facing another physical health crisis that further complicated their situation. The mechanical accident that changed everything. Jay loved motorcycles and old cars, and this hobby was a big part of who he was for many years. He had a huge garage, about the size of 2 football fields, filled with over 180 cars and 160 motorcycles, each with its own special meaning. Jay didn't just show off his collection. He liked to fix and work on the vehicles himself. Spending time with these machines helped him relax and take a break from the stress of being a TV star. In January 2023, just weeks after returning to his garage following his recovery from burn injuries, Jay suffered another serious accident while working on his 1940 Indian motorcycle. The vintage bike tipped over and pinned Jay underneath, breaking several ribs and his collarbone and causing a punctured lung that required immediate emergency treatment. This second major accident in less than 3 months forced Jay to confront his own mortality in ways he had previously avoided, despite being in his 70s. While Jay was in the hospital for his injuries, doctors found problems with his heartbeat and had to give him a pacemaker. The surgery went well, but all these health issues made Jay realize he couldn't keep living such a fast-paced life. His friends said he seemed really affected by everything and, for the first time, looked like he was starting to show his age. As Jay recovered from this second accident, Mavis remained by his side, though her ability to provide support was increasingly compromised by her own declining condition. The couple leaned heavily on their small circle of trusted friends and staff, who now observed the unmistakable signs of Mavis's cognitive impairment. Jay and Mavis were both dealing with health problems that started to affect their daily lives. The way they used to live no longer worked, and this led to some tough talks with doctors about what to do next. The devastating diagnosis. After many months of brain tests at UCLA Medical Center, Jay and Mavis got heartbreaking news in April 2023. Mavis was diagnosed with a serious type of dementia called Alzheimer's disease. This explained why she had been forgetting things, getting confused, and acting differently. Doctors ran lots of tests and scans before giving the final answer. Even though Jay and Mavis had a feeling something was wrong, hearing the truth was still very painful, especially because the disease gets worse over time and can't be cured. The medical team explained to Jay and Mavis that while medications could potentially slow the progression temporarily, there was no cure for Alzheimer's disease. They outlined the typical progression, warning that Mavis would likely experience accelerating decline in her memory, reasoning abilities, and eventually her capacity to recognize loved ones or manage basic self-care. The neurologist compassionately but clearly explained that the coming years would require increasingly intensive caregiving arrangements as the disease advanced. When Jay found out about Mavis's illness, everything changed for him. His own health problems didn't seem as bad compared to what she was going through. Friends said Jay was more emotional than usual, having a hard time accepting that their dreams for retirement and staying active together might not happen. The man who always made people laugh was now facing something that jokes couldn't fix. At first, Jay and Mavis only told a few close friends about her illness and asked for privacy while they tried to deal with the news. Jay started learning everything he could about Alzheimer's, talking to top doctors and looking into both regular and new treatments. But as he learned more about what Mavis was facing, Jay had to make tough choices about his work, choices that people would soon notice and couldn't stay secret. The difficult decision to cancel the tour. Jay had always loved stand-up comedy, even when he was hosting The Tonight Show. After he left the show, he kept busy by doing about 200 comedy shows a year all over the country. These live shows helped him connect with people in a way TV couldn't. Jay often said going back to stand-up was one of the best parts of his life after the show. In 2023, he had planned a big tour with more than 150 shows at theaters and casinos across the U.S. As Jay came to terms with Mavis's illness, he knew he couldn't keep traveling for his comedy shows. Being away for days at a time wasn't safe anymore because Mavis needed more help and care. After talking with her doctors, Jay decided in May 2023 to cancel the rest of his shows for the year, about 125 in total. His team shared the news, saying it was because of family health matters, but didn't give details about Mavis's condition. Canceling his shows cost Jay a lot of money. People in the business said he lost millions in payments, not counting extra fees for canceling deals with theaters. But more than the money, this was the first big sign that Jay was stepping back from his career. It showed that taking care of his family had become more important than staying in the spotlight. Venue managers and promoters expressed surprise at the suddenness of the cancellations, particularly given Jay's reputation for reliability and his famous claim that he had never missed a performance due to illness throughout his entire career. The comedy community similarly noted the uncharacteristic nature of these cancellations, with fellow comedians expressing concern about what must be a truly serious situation to force such a dramatic professional step from a man known for his unwavering work ethic. As speculation about the real reasons behind the tour cancellation grew in entertainment circles, Jay was already making an even more difficult decision about his television projects: stepping away from Jay Leno's Garage. Jay Leno's Garage started as a small YouTube show, but grew into one of CNBC's most popular programs. It mixed Jay's love for fixing cars with his talent for talking to people and making them laugh. On the show, Jay looked at amazing vehicles with their owners, famous guests, and car experts. It ran for 7 seasons and got nominated for several Emmy Awards. For Jay, it was the perfect way to combine his 2 favorite things, cars and entertainment, and helped him stay in the spotlight after leaving The Tonight Show. In June 2023, after talking a lot with TV executives, Jay said he wouldn't be coming back for the 8th season of Jay Leno's Garage. The public message said he needed to focus on family matters and thanked the crew, guests, and fans for their support. Privately, Jay told the CNBC team about how serious Mavis's illness was and that he had to put her care first. They understood and supported his choice. Canceling the show caused problems for the TV network because they had already started planning and set up filming dates with famous guests and special cars. It also took away Jay's main way of being creative and separated him from the team he had worked with for years. These producers, researchers, and crew members were like family to him, and many had been with Jay since his time on The Tonight Show. For car lovers and Jay's fans, the news made it clear that something serious was going on in his life. People on social media started guessing what might be wrong, since Jay would never stop showing off his famous car collection unless he had a really important reason. As Jay stepped away from this important part of his career, he also started making big changes to his car and motorcycle collection, the hobby he had loved and shared with the world for many years. Selling the legendary collection. Jay Leno's vehicle collection had long been recognized as one of the most impressive and valuable privately owned automotive assemblages in the world. Housed in several connected warehouse buildings near the Burbank Airport, the collection included everything from priceless classics like a 1909 Baker Electric to modern hypercars and one-of-a-kind prototypes. Unlike many collectors who acquired vehicles primarily as investments, Jay was famous for ensuring every vehicle remained operational, regularly driving even his rarest automobiles on Southern California roads. In August 2023, car experts and collectors noticed something unusual. Many expensive cars from Jay's collection were being sold at fancy auctions and car dealerships all at once. Normally, Jay only sold a few cars now and then to make space for new ones, but this time was different. He was selling about 40% of his collection, especially the cars that were hardest to take care of and needed a lot of special work. People in the car world said Jay was picking which vehicles to keep based on how special they were to him or how important they were in history. He was selling some of his most valuable steam-powered cars, which were hard to take care of, and a few classic cars that were worth millions. Experts guess the total value of the cars he was selling was over $50 million, but Jay asked the auction houses not to share exact numbers. Jay's representatives declined to comment on the sales beyond saying that the comedian was refining his collection. But friends privately acknowledged that the liquidation served two purposes. First, it generated substantial liquid assets that could be used for Mavis's long-term care, which Jay anticipated would require significant resources as her condition progressed. Second, it reduced the management demands of the collection to a level that would allow Jay to maintain his remaining vehicles while devoting his primary attention to Mavis. As Jay strategically downsized the collection that had been central to his identity, he was also making arrangements to step back from the entertainment industry that had been his professional home for over half a century. The final television appearances. All through his career, Jay was known for always showing up when he said he would. He never missed shows, even when things were tough in his personal life. That's why people in the TV business were surprised by what he did in late 2023. Starting in September, Jay began canceling all his upcoming TV appearances one after another. He backed out of big talk shows and even canceled filming car documentaries for streaming platforms. Everyone could see that Jay wasn't just cutting back on work, he was trying to step away from being on TV completely. Jay did appear on TV 2 more times, and these became his final goodbyes to being on television regularly. In October 2023, he went on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon for what seemed like a celebration of late-night TV history. People who watched closely noticed that Jay seemed different. He was looking back on his career and saying thank you in a way that felt more like an ending than just another visit. Even though he still made jokes, like usual, his close friends later told everyone that Jay had actually asked for this chance to properly say goodbye to the show that had been such a big part of his life for so many years. In November 2023, Jay appeared on a car show for the last time. He showed 5 cars from his collection that were very special to him. While talking on the show, he shared how cars can bring families together and help keep memories alive. Later, people realized his words had a deeper meaning. At the end of the episode, Jay drove away in a 1955 Buick, the same kind of car his dad had when Jay was a kid. Fans later saw this as a meaningful way to say goodbye. After these shows, Jay turned down all other offers to be on TV. His team finally put out a message saying he was taking an indefinite break from television and public appearances. This meant he was stepping away from TV for a very long time, maybe forever. The message thanked his fans for supporting him throughout his career, but didn't explain why he was leaving. As more people started wondering why Jay suddenly stopped appearing in public, he was busy making sure Mavis would be taken care of, creating the Mavis Leno Care Foundation. During their marriage, Jay and Mavis gave a lot of support to important causes, especially those that helped women and education. In December 2023, Jay started a new group called the Mavis Leno Care Foundation. It had 2 main goals: to keep helping the women's rights groups that Mavis cared deeply about, and to support research on Alzheimer's disease and similar memory problems, which had become more personal to them. Jay gave $30 million to start the foundation and added more money from selling some of his cars and using his investments. He set it up so that Mavis's charity work would keep going, even if her memory got worse. The people running the foundation were close friends who knew what mattered most to Mavis. Jay said the foundation would keep doing good things quietly, just like Mavis always did, without trying to get attention. Besides helping others, the foundation also helped Jay take care of Mavis for the long term. He built a special care center at their home and hired doctors and nurses who knew how to care for people with memory problems. He made sure the place felt warm and familiar, with photos, keepsakes, and things Mavis loved. Jay wanted to make sure she got the best care possible in a place that felt like home, no matter how her illness changed over time. The foundation was Jay's way of letting people know something serious was going on, even though he never talked about Mavis's illness directly. He kept her privacy safe. Friends said this time showed a different side of Jay. Instead of being the funny guy on TV, he put all his energy into making sure his wife, whom he'd been with for over 40 years, felt safe and cared for. But as Jay devoted himself to Mavis's care, he would make one final public statement that brought clarity to his disappearance from public life: the farewell letter to fans. For months, people wondered why Jay suddenly disappeared from public life. Then in February 2024, Jay finally explained what was happening. Instead of going on TV or talking to reporters, he wrote a letter that was published in many big newspapers and on his website at the same time. The letter was 3 pages long and written in Jay's usual simple, direct way of talking. In this letter, he finally told everyone the real reason why he had left the entertainment world. In the letter, Jay explained that Mavis had been diagnosed with progressive dementia and that he had made the decision to retire completely from public life to focus on being her primary caregiver for whatever time they had left together. He expressed profound gratitude for the support he had received throughout his career, acknowledging that his success had only been possible because of the audiences who had welcomed him into their homes for decades. Jay specifically thanked his late-night television viewers, stand-up audiences, and the automotive enthusiasts who had shared his passion for vehicles. In his letter, Jay looked back on his almost 50 years in show business. He talked about the most important moments in his career and thanked the teachers, co-workers, and staff who helped him succeed. Jay wrote that even though his work had always been a big part of who he was, he now knew that taking care of Mavis during her illness was his most important job. He called their 43-year marriage the greatest blessing of my life, and said that looking after Mavis wasn't something he had to do. It was something he felt lucky to be able to do. Jay concluded the letter by requesting privacy for himself and Mavis in the years ahead, while expressing hope that his absence from entertainment would be understood as an act of love rather than abandonment. The letter, signed simply Jay, marked the definitive end of one of television's most enduring careers and the beginning of a new chapter defined not by public accomplishment but by private devotion. Within days of its publication, Jay and Mavis relocated from their longtime Beverly Hills home to a more secluded property, effectively closing the door on Jay's public life. Which aspect of Jay Leno's farewell do you find most moving? Was it his decision to step away from television, his sale of beloved vehicles, or his complete dedication to Mavis's care? And what does his choice reveal about the true nature of success and fulfillment? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.